Good morning, everybody. Cowboy here. Friday, 8:30 a.m. EST. So let's go ahead and jump right into the charts. We got Bitcoin. Actually, we did have some data. I think it just came out. Let's take a look at the data. We always go there first if we can. The charts tend to react, and then you got to let that get digested before you go and trade. Got the PCE came out right as expected. So the data came out not different than the estimate, meaning that there's a chance that market reaction will just kind of fizzle out, go back to what it was going to do already. Looking on the 30-minute chart for the Japanese yen, we'll see what the reaction was like. It looks like just a shake off. Just looks like price kind of did a little wag, and it'll probably continue along what it was going to do. Yep. Price just kind of moved up, moved down, and then we'll probably continue to do what it was going to do. So this is why we don't really trade data, because if you look at this, this is just like, price being pushed around up and down to knock people out of their trades. Right now, looks as if it's going to continue upwards, but we'll see about it. Like I said, in the next 30 minutes, price could do a lot of things to confuse and take traders out of their trades. So we do have to just watch out for that. And that's why I don't really trade, trade news. Stay away from it for the most part, at least until the news is digested. We do have some resistance right here on USD/JPY, and price, if it breaks above that, may head up to this next resistance area right here. So let's take out our little winner trade from yesterday. Maybe we'll take this out here, and a broader look on JPY before we move over to the rest of the market is, yeah, it does want to head up a little bit. Kind of, yeah. So USD/JPY is in a precarious situation where short term it looks like it wants to move up just based on some of the algo data here. It's lightly bullish, right? Give me 1 second here. So basically, yeah, this little Adam and Eve type scenario on the chart, which is a chart formation. We have an impulse down, and so that impulse down is like this. We have a pullback, probably not all the way to 382. Yeah, right at the 382. So what may happen with the JPY? And it's based on some of the higher time frame data that we have, right? Because it's still pretty bearish. So I would not be surprised on a high time frame now. This is not a high time frame. So this might take like a few days, like maybe even a week or two, to see the Japanese yen make its way back up to this 382 right here, and then head down. And then what if it can break this 141? That's going to tell us an awful lot. And then it might even head all the way to, this is like going into September, October, right? This is a long scenario. Long as in far out scenario. And by the way, the Guerilla let me know he's going to be on. He's just a little bit late. He's in a teleconference with people on the other side of the world right now, so he will come on as soon as can. But this would be a lovely trade if it can happen. And this is very possible based on what I'm seeing on the charts, right? Maybe like a week or two of price kind of grinding upwards towards the 382. So what I probably would do with the JPY over the next week or two is look for some good pullbacks, some strong pullbacks though, maybe like 786s, whatever, on the way up on a low time frame, and then short that final when it gets to 382. So that's kind of the plan. Bitcoin's move right now, yesterday, it kind of popped down at the end of the day, and that has a lot to do with the equities market. So let me go like this and put on the SPY here so we can see why Bitcoin may have done what it's done, right? So, and we're going to go to a lower time frame. Let's take a look at the 3 hour. So you'll see towards the end of the day yesterday, the SPY had a nasty kind of move down, right? Actually midday, really. Let me go to a lower time frame so we can see it with more granular data. And then you'll see that Bitcoin literally did the same thing. So not sure what happened here. Things, it must have been some kind of news or something. So right about midday, let's say 2 p.m. EST, so not too long before the close, price really made a dive down, and it dove down basically into the close, right? So Bitcoin followed, which is pretty normal for Bitcoin on the short term to do similar things to the market. See that red or whatever magenta line here, that's Bitcoin fall. In fact, Bitcoin looks like the move preceded. It looks like this happened with Bitcoin first. And you see Bitcoin's pretty correlated with S&P right now, right? And then we got to think about it this way. So the current market is with Bitcoin is pretty flat. So if you look at Bitcoin on a higher time frame and notice that it's pretty quiet. So when Bitcoin doesn't have its own force going on, it's going to be subject to the rest of the market. So there's no volatility in Bitcoin. Bitcoin has found this temporary price discovery sitting around 60,000. It's kind of rotating between 57.5 and 61.7 more or less, just kind of bouncing around. Not a lot of volume in Bitcoin, not a lot of volume in markets in general. It's the end of August, right? So this is just like when markets are super quiet. And you gotta, I only will trade something that looks really super obvious. Like I won't take trades. First of all, at this time of the year, I don't take trades that are outside of trading hours because there's just no volume. It's just so quiet. I want to trade the opens. I want to trade, times when there is volatility because that's the only time there's follow through. And if I'm trading something that's just too good of a trade outside of those hours, then I'm ready to exit early and often because there's just no follow through. And so when this happens, again, Bitcoin's just bouncing, not really doing a whole lot, doesn't have its own power. So the moves of the traditional finance market are going to dictate what Bitcoin does. And what's really interesting about this is that Bitcoin seems to have moved first. It could be coincidental that Bitcoin sold off, but it could also be, let's do something here. Let's go with settings, style, candles. It's a little hard to see here, but yeah, Bitcoin's drop down preceded this move by like an hour. It's hard to see. This is a very messy screen because I didn't the way I've got the candles colored. But Bitcoin's move happened earlier. So it's either it just so happened to drop, and I mean that there are coincidences, but it could also be that that's not okay. It might be this that the Bitcoiners knew something. I doubt that Bitcoin is controlling TradFi. TradFi is so much bigger. But anyway, that happened. And so Bitcoin's just kind of following the SP 500 right now. And the SP 500 on the short term, right? Not on the long term, but on the short term. So that being the case, looks like the SP 500 overnight, the futures are pushing up. So we'll probably see a bit of a gap on the open, a gap up. And we know the markets are being held up. We talk about this all the time. The SP 500 should be going sideways into the election. That's what happens on the prior election years. One of my cohorts did a historical look on the SP 500 and all the stocks and indexes. And generally, in an election year, it's kept in control. And at this point in time, I'm like, markets are very controlled. There's no doubt about it. It's this kind of price action is not. That's not what markets do right there on their own. that's inflation. That's fine, whatever. I mean, we live in an inflation environment. That's just part of the function of the way things work. And we can complain about it all we want, or we can find a way to make money on it. So we are at the end of the public live lab. So thanks for coming in. Pretty quiet morning, no comments, no chart requests. Hopefully that changes. Yesterday in the private live lab, we did talk a lot about who's doing what with their algos, right? So as much as I love for people to come in and talk about, what charts are doing what, for us to kind of do some live trading, we also want to make sure at Algo Factory that we are building our algos because that's what we do, right? An algorithm is not necessarily something you computer code. You don't have to code it, but you can. We have a couple guys who have, where you hard code it and it trades for you. And automation is a great thing. But before you automate, because that takes time. First, you got to build an algo. That takes time. Then you got to automate it, which takes a little time. But what's key there is once it's automated, the time that it takes to test it is something that people don't understand. You got to let it run on demo for a while. You got to see what hours it works. You got to find out under what conditions it works, which conditions it doesn't work, because a lot of times you can lose money. You need to really, really chop up your data. So what we're doing is typically most of us in Algo Factory are building algos and trading them manually. And then that way they can deploy, they can make money. You can trade on a very few hours a week. That's that's I mean, we have guys who've built an algo and they're like on 3 hours a week and they're successful. So don't get stuck, right? You just got to come in, do the work, and it'll happen over time. All right, great. AlgoFactory.tech, trade your job, upgrade your life. Snap the QR code, top right hand side of the corner. Let me go ahead and get the private live lab started. Give me just one moment to do that. I don't have via the Guerilla to send us off here, so I got to do it all myself. All right, do not forget.
Join us or die.